My name is Bill Rule. I live with my wife Becky Warren at 570 South Rodney, and we are here on site right now. Rodney and I go back quite a ways. Let me start with chronologically getting close to Rodney. One of my dreams has always been to have my own home, and I had fallen in love with Helena. I've always figured first you find where you want to live, and then you find what kind of work you're going to do. So when I got here for this second or third time, depending on how you count it, in 1976, why I fell in love with the place and wanted to dig in and decided this was my home. The first thing toward that end was to buy a lot on Spencer Alley, which was a very small lot, but it would have been nice for a little home. I didn't get around to getting that built. So after I had bought the Spencer Alley place, I wound up buying for $17,000, which was cheap even in those times, bought a 310 Broadway and put a bunch of sweat equity into that, but never really created a space that I particularly wanted to live in, let alone Beck. In 1984, Beck and I went and spent a year in Scotland. When we came back, we moved into the top of Rodney Street at 816 South Rodney and spent the winter there before moving down to 633 North Rodney, and this is more accident than by design that we just happened to be staying in this area. We lived there while we got married, and then Beck went to school in Bozeman, which eventually took us to Salt Lake City and other places. But somewhere in here I have to fit in the fact that we got to the FAC mansion. I'd say a couple words just because I'm prepared about the August FAC Manor. August was married to Tilly McGaffick, and together they built the mansion next door. He owned the California Wine Shop downtown, which was a high-end liquor store. I guess he was quite well known for his art. He had what I believe was called the Odalesque. It's a beautiful marble statue that I think is at the Montana Historical Society after having been through a fire and some damage. But he was very proud of that, as well as a bunch of his Charlie Russell paintings and such. Can't find out much else about the man in casual research, but this is a building that I hope gets saved. It's got some neat art inside, including some pheasant paintings and a beautiful old ice box, and it has since been through a lot of water damage. A tenant moved out and basically just left it, and the place flooded. And it's been in repair for probably the last 4 years. And I hope somebody with deep pockets will come salvage it. It's not meant for us do-it-yourselfers to try and put it back into shape. It wouldn't be a manageable project. We lived upstairs there for a couple of years. Our son was born while we lived up there. We brought him home as a newborn. I've got a picture of me, and a number of them probably, off of that porch right there, looking out over the Helena. Richard Swanson, who was the owner of this property at the time, put a couple of his lots for sale. And we looked out the window and saw that, and I said, let's do it there. And Beck said, oh, let's build an old house. And I said, no, let's build a new house. And I wanted the energy efficiency. She wanted the style of the old houses. So we finally agreed that I would build her an old house, which is what I have done here. So we bought that lot. And the sale of the 310 Broadway to Nick Jocks gave me the money to put in the water and sewer in this place. And that basically got us going on it. I started building the rock wall up at the back here, and then Arla Barkmeyer and Brady Vardaman bought the FAC mansion and said, sorry guys, you're out. So we moved off to the west side of town for a couple of years. So we broke ground in 1993 and moved in June of 1994. This is what we're looking at. This is my lot. And this is Beck and I, this is me in Scotland drawing this. So this was the first draft of this house was the dream in that would have been 84. All right, it gets, that would have been the second effort. It's all changed. This is the lot before I started. That might. More, that's closer to what it really came out like. Closer, 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 closer. No. There's another shot of the lot. And I was right about here on this rock wall when I learned that I had to move out of next door. When we were in Salt Lake City, Beck said, I drew up the plans, and Beck said, I can't see two-dimensional. So I built a model. That's staking it out in the snow the year before, the winter before I started breaking ground. These are part of my application for building in the historic keeping with the neighborhood. And this is all stuff along the way. And the footings. This is the roof going up. This was, I had people stop by and say, that is a massive roof. So we didn't bring trusses in, we hand framed the roof out of 2x12s. The framing. This was interesting. I got a lot of help from a bunch of friends for 2 days. And that was to have a bunch of carpenter friends come help me side as much as we could get sided in a weekend. And a lot of friends who look forward to the weekend so that they don't have to be carpenters came up and showed up and put time in to help me side my house. The garage was an add-on years after I'd had other jobs and could afford to build it out of pocket. It took me about 3 or 4 years, but I call it the world's most expensive fence. It walls off Rodney Street traffic and completely makes this yard private and just changes the whole feel of the yard. So besides getting to move my tools out of the basement and having a place to throw darts and park my truck, it's a great room builder on the property. The log cabin down front came off of Miller Street, and I have some pictures of that in my book there that show it in its original setting. And I bought it for $100. It had been burned pretty badly, and scraped the char off and numbered the logs and hauled it up here and put it back together. But there's the one that was sitting right next to it, its sister cabin, if you will, is still sitting down there on Miller Avenue, Miller Street. When I built this place, I applied for and got a tax abatement for 5 years for building in the historic character, and was also fortunate enough to win a Historic Preservation Award for the house at the same time, which I appreciated. But in truth, there's so many different kinds of houses up here, it was hard not to build in the old style. But because this has some Victorian overtones, I passed the smell test. My best memories would be built on fulfilling my dream of turning this lot into a comfortable home. I have to say that's one of my life achievements besides my family. The many jobs I've had have been rewarding at various points, but this is probably what I'm proudest of. It's one of those dreams that really worked. A lot of dreams, when they you get them done and say, oh, well, that was nice. This is one of those dreams that was everything I hoped it would be in terms of making a home. That I hope to die here many long and happy years from now.